is not a sign to stop. It's a sign that you're stepping into something bigger. Fear shows up when you're pushing yourself beyond what's comfortable, beyond what you already know. Too many people see fear as a wall, as something that tells them they aren't ready. But that's not the truth. Fear is proof that you're growing. It means you're in the right place. The problem is not fear. The problem is what you do with it. Do you let it hold you back or do you push through? Think about it. Every great person you admire has faced fear. The difference? They didn't let it dictate their next move. They felt it, they acknowledged it, and they moved forward anyway. Fear is natural, but it's not a stop sign. It's a green light disguised as a challenge. If you can understand that fear is just part of the process, you stop running from it, you stop making excuses, you stop waiting until you feel ready. Because the truth is, you'll never feel 100% ready. The people winning in life are the ones who act despite fear. Your brain is wired to protect you. It sees uncertainty and it sounds the alarm. It tells you to back off, to stay where it's safe. But the reality, most of the fears you have are exaggerated. Your mind plays tricks on you, making the challenge seem bigger than it is. That speech you're afraid to give, that business you're afraid to start, that decision you keep putting off, it's never as scary as it seems in your head. Fear magnifies the worst case scenario. It makes you think you're going to fail publicly, embarrass yourself, lose everything. But what if instead of listening to those fears, you ask yourself, what's the best that could happen? What if that speech changes your career? What if that business takes off? What if the risk you take puts you in a position you never imagined? When you challenge your fear, you take away its power. You see it for what it really is, just an illusion. The more you hesitate, the stronger fear gets. The longer you wait, the bigger it grows. The best way to kill fear? Move. Do something. Take action. When you sit still and let fear run your thoughts, it takes control. But the moment you move, the moment you take that first step, fear starts to shrink. Think about when you learned how to drive. At first, you were nervous, hands tight on the wheel, heart racing, second guessing every move. But what happened after a few weeks? It became second nature. Fear didn't leave before you started. It left because you started. The same applies to every area of your life. The more you do, the less fear controls you. The more you face what scares you, the stronger you become. People at the top didn't get there because they never felt fear. They got there because they refused to let fear stop them. Fear is the price of admission to success. If you're waiting for the fear to go away before you chase your dreams, you'll be waiting forever. Look at the greatest athletes, entrepreneurs, and leaders. They all had moments of doubt, moments of fear, but instead of stopping, they kept going. They bet on themselves. They knew that fear was just part of the game. They weren't fearless. They were relentless. And that's the mindset you need. You don't need to eliminate fear. You just need to decide that your dreams are bigger than your doubts. The best opportunities in life are usually hidden behind fear. The job you want, the relationship you desire, the life-changing decision you're avoiding, it's all sitting on the other side of fear. The problem is most people never cross that line. They stay stuck, held back by their own excuses, by their own self-doubt. But those who push through, they found out that fear was never as big as they thought. They realized that taking that step was the best thing they ever did. Fear is just a test. It's life asking you, how bad do you want it? Are you willing to be uncomfortable? Are you willing to do what scares you in order to reach your potential? Or are you going to stay in the same place, letting fear control your life? Fear doesn't disappear on its own. You have to push past it. And the way you do that is by building confidence. Confidence isn't something you're born with. It's something you create. Every time you take action, every time you prove to yourself that you can handle the challenge, your confidence grows. Fear wants you to believe you're not capable, that you don't have what it takes. But confidence proves fear wrong. Confidence says, I've done hard things before and I can do this too. You don't wait for confidence to show up before you act and confidence follows. The more you face your fears, the more unstoppable you become. Fear isn't something you outgrow, it's something you learn to conquer. It doesn't matter how successful you become, how much experience you gain, or how many wins you stack up, fear will always try to creep back in. The difference between those who stay stuck and those who rise is how they respond to it. Fear is a test. It's life's way of seeing how badly you want what you say you want. It's easy to talk about dreams when there's no risk, no pressure, no stakes. But when fear shows up, that's when you find out who you really are. Think about it. If fear wasn't a factor, everybody would be successful. Everybody would be in shape. Everybody would be wealthy. But fear stops people before they even start. Fear convinces them they're not good enough, not ready, not capable. And too many people listen. Too many people accept that lie and stay in the same place for years, sometimes their entire lives. But not you. You have a choice. You can either let fear dictate your life, or you can decide that no matter how big the challenge, no matter how uncertain the outcome, you're going to move forward anyway. Fear is a liar. It tells you the worst will happen. It convinces you that failure is final, that embarrassment is unbearable, that rejection means you're not worthy. But fear is not reality. It's a distortion. When you actually step into the thing you've been avoiding, you realize it's never as bad as you thought. The anxiety before is worse than the event itself. You spend days, weeks, months stressing over something that in reality takes just minutes to face. And when you finally do it, you wonder why you waited so long. But here's the problem. Most people never get to that realization because they never take that first step. They never pick up the phone and make the call. They never send that email. They never walk into that room. And because they don't, they allow fear to control them. Fear becomes their prison. But you're different. You're not going to let fear dictate what you do. You're not going to let it rob you of opportunities, relationships, and success. You're going to face it. And when you do, you realize that it had no real power, only the power you gave it. Fear wants to keep you comfortable. It wants to keep you playing small. It wants to keep you from stepping into your greatness. Because as long as you don't take risks, as long as you don't challenge yourself, you stay manageable. You stay predictable. But the second you start moving, the second you start taking action, fear starts losing its grip. You realize that discomfort is just a part of the process. That nervous feeling, that's a sign you're stepping into something bigger. Think about the most successful people in the world. Do you really believe they never felt fear? Of course they did, but they made a decision. They decided that fear wasn't going to be the thing that stopped them. They decided that their dreams were worth the discomfort, that their purpose was worth the risk. Every time they stepped into the unknown, they built confidence. Every time they faced fear, they got stronger. And that's what you need to do. Fear loses its power when you act. That's the secret. If you sit around waiting for fear to leave before you make a move, you'll be waiting forever. You don't wait until you feel brave. You take action while you're scared. You start the business while you're uncertain. You make the speech while your voice is shaking. You go after your goals even when doubt is whispering in your ear. And when you do, you realize that fear was never real. It was only an illusion. Fear doesn't disappear overnight. It's something you have to face again and again. But the more you do, the more fearless you become. Every challenge you overcome, every risk you take, every time you step into uncertainty, you grow, you level up. And eventually you stop seeing fear as something to avoid and start seeing it as a sign that you're exactly where you need to be. Fear is a constant, but it doesn't have to be a limitation. The people who achieve greatness aren't the ones who never feel fear. They're the ones who refuse to let it control them. Fear will try to shake your confidence, make you second guess yourself, and hold you back from opportunities that could change your life. But the real question is, are you willing to push past it? Too many people wait for the fear to disappear before they take action. They think, once I feel ready, I'll go for it. But that day never comes. Because fear doesn't just vanish. It's always lurking, always waiting to see if you're strong enough to move through it. If you wait for fear to leave, you'll never move. You'll never take the leap. And if you never take the leap, you'll never reach the life you truly want. Look at any highly successful person, and I guarantee you they had moments of fear, moments when they questioned if they were good enough, moments when they felt the weight of doubt, but they didn't let that stop them. They walked into the unknown anyway. They started the business before they had everything figured out. They made the investment before they knew all the outcomes. They got on stage while their hands were shaking because they understood that fear is not a stop sign, it's a green light. It's a signal that you're stepping into something greater than yourself. Fear is the price of growth. If you're not experiencing fear, that means you're staying in the same place. That means you're not stretching, not evolving, not chasing anything bigger than your comfort zone. But the moment you start aiming higher, the moment you start pushing yourself beyond what's familiar, fear will show up. That's how you know you're on the right track. Fear is just a test, one that separates those who stay average from those who step into their full potential. Think about all the times fear has held you back, the opportunities you didn't take, the conversations you avoided, the dreams you kept putting off. Now ask yourself, what if you had acted in spite of fear? Where would you be right now if you had pushed through those moments instead of retreating? The truth is, fear has already taken enough from you. It's already robbed you of chances, connections, and experiences. Are you really going to let it keep stealing your future? You don't have to be fearless. You just have to be brave for a few seconds longer than your fear lasts. That's all it takes, the decision, to make the move, to take the step, to walk through the fear instead of running from it. And here's what happens when you do. Fear shrinks. The thing that once terrified you becomes manageable. The conversation you were avoiding, it wasn't that bad. The decision you were scared to make, it worked out better than you imagined. The risk you were afraid of taking, it led to the breakthrough you needed. Most of the time, fear is just an illusion. It's a story your mind tells you to keep you safe. But safety doesn't lead to success. Playing it safe keeps you exactly where you are. And if where you are isn't where you want to be, then fear is not your friend, it's your enemy. It's the thing standing between you and the life you were meant to live. Stop letting fear make decisions for you. Stop giving it control over your dream. The next time fear shows up, don't let it stop you. Let it fuel you. Let it remind you that what's on the other side is worth it. Let it push you to prove it wrong. Because at the end of the day, the people who win are not the ones who never feel fear. They're the ones who refuse to bow to it. Fear is a liar. It will whisper in your ear, telling you that you're not ready, that you're not good enough, that you might fail. But let me tell you something. Failure is not the enemy. Fear is. Because failure is a lesson, a stepping stone, a necessary part of success. But fear will paralyze you. Fear will keep you stuck in a place you don't belong. Fear will make you watch life pass by while you sit on the sidelines wondering what could have been. You were not built to live a life ruled by fear. You were made to take risks, to step into uncertainty, to push yourself beyond what's comfortable. The problem is most people let fear dictate their choices. They let it convince them to stay small, to play it safe, to avoid discomfort at all costs. But let me ask you, what has that ever done for you? Has fear ever rewarded you? Has it ever given you the life you wanted? No, because fear doesn't give, it takes. It steals your confidence, your dreams, your potential. And the only way to take it back is to face fear head on. You have to decide that fear will not control you. You have to wake up every day and remind yourself that fear is just a test. It's asking you, how bad do you want it? And if you let it stop you, then you didn't want it bad enough. If you let fear win, then your dreams weren't big enough. Because the people who succeed, the people who rise above, are the ones who feel fear just like everyone else, but they move forward anyway. You have to stop waiting to feel ready. You have to stop waiting for the fear to go away, because it won't. The only way to weaken fear is to act in spite of it. The moment you take that first step, fear starts to lose its power. The moment you prove to yourself that you can survive discomfort, fear shrinks. And the more you do it, the easier it gets. Look at any person who has achieved greatness, and you'll see someone who mastered the art of acting despite fear. Athletes step onto the field even when they're nervous. Entrepreneurs take risks even when they don't know the outcome. Speakers get on stage even when their hands are shaking. Why? Because they understand that fear is a signal, not a stop sign, but a green light, a sign that they are stepping into something that matters. Fear is natural. It's built into you as a survival instinct. But in today's world, fear is no longer about survival. It's about perception. You're not afraid of failing. You're afraid of people seeing you fail. You're not afraid of taking risks. You're afraid of judgment. You're not afraid of the unknown. You're afraid of losing control. But let me tell you, the moment you stop caring about what other people think, the moment you stop trying to control every little thing, fear loses its grip on you. Your dreams require boldness. Your future demands courage. If you want to live the life you've imagined, you have to be willing to do things that scare you. You have to be willing to put yourself out there, to take the shot, to step into the unknown, because if you don't, you'll spend your whole life wondering what could have been. And regret is far worse than fear. So let this be the moment you stop letting fear make your decisions. Let this be the moment you take your power back. Let this be the moment you choose courage over comfort, action over excuses, and faith over fear. Because when you do that, you'll realize something. Fear was never as powerful as you thought. The only power it had was the power you gave it. And now it's time to take that power back. Fear will try to paralyze you, but it only has as much power as you allow it to have. Too many people live their entire lives as prisoners of fear. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of uncertainty. They let it dictate their choices, their actions, their future. But let me tell you something. Fear is nothing but a mental construct. It's not real. It's an illusion that magnifies danger, distorts reality, and keeps you stuck in the same place. Fear will convince you to take the safe route, to play small, to settle. It will make you believe that stepping out of your comfort zone is too risky. But let's get real for a moment. What's the real risk? Is it trying and failing? Or is it never trying at all and living the rest of your life wondering what could have been? The truth is, the biggest risk is inaction. The biggest risk is letting fear steal your dream. The biggest risk is waking up one day and realizing you let fear control your entire life. And I get it. Fear feels real. It comes with anxiety, uncertainty, and doubt. But here's the truth. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is acting in spite of fear. Every successful person you admire has felt fear. Every champion, every leader, every game changer has stood in front of fear and made a choice. They chose to move forward. They chose to take the leap. They chose to trust themselves even when they were scared. And that's exactly what you have to do. You have to move even when fear is screaming in your ear. You have to push forward even when your mind is flooded with doubt. Because on the other side of fear is everything you've been dreaming of. Think about it. How many times has fear lied to you? How many times has it told you that you weren't good enough, only for you to later realize you were more than capable? How many times has it told you to sit down and be quiet, only for you to regret not speaking up? How many times has it convinced you that you'd fail, only for you to succeed once you finally took action? Fear has been wrong about you before, and it's wrong about you now. You have to stop feeding it. You have to stop entertaining the doubts, the excuses, the worst case scenarios. Fear thrives on your hesitation. The longer you wait, the stronger it gets. But the moment you take action, fear starts to shrink. The moment you step forward, the illusion begins to fade. And let me be clear, fear will never fully disappear. You will feel it every time you step into something new. You will feel it every time you chase something bigger. You will feel it every time you take a risk. But that's a good sign. It means you're growing. It means you're leveling up. It means you're stepping into your full potential. The people who win in life are not the ones who never feel fear. They are the ones who refuse to let fear dictate their choices. They feel it, acknowledge it, and move anyway. They don't wait for fear to go away because they understand that waiting is just another excuse. So what about you? Are you going to let fear stop you? Are you going to keep playing small because fear told you that's all you're capable of? Are you going to keep letting it rob you of your future, or are you going to take back control? This is your time. No more excuses, no more waiting, no more listening to the lies fear whispers in your ear. From this moment on, you move forward. No matter how scared you feel, you show up, you take action, and you prove to yourself that fear has no power over you. Fear is a natural emotion, but it was never meant to be a prison. It was never meant to keep you locked inside your comfort zone, watching opportunities pass you by. Fear was meant to be a signal, not a stop sign. It's a reminder that you're stepping into something unfamiliar, something bigger than yourself. But let me tell you something. Nothing great was ever accomplished in a place of comfort. Nothing extraordinary was ever achieved by playing it safe. Think about the people you admire. The leaders, the innovators, the game changers. Do you think they got to where they are by letting fear dictate their actions? Do you think they waited until they felt comfortable before they stepped into their greatness? No, they moved forward despite the fear. They felt it, acknowledged it, and kept going anyway. That's what separates those who succeed from those who stay stuck. Fear wants to keep you comfortable. It wants to keep you small. It will tell you that you're not ready, that you don't have enough talent, enough experience, enough resources. But fear is a liar. It will always find a reason to make you hesitate, to make you doubt yourself. And the longer you entertain it, the stronger it becomes. But here's the truth. Action is the antidote to fear. The only way to silence it is to move. Every time you take action, every time you push through, fear loses its grip. It starts to fade, it starts to weaken, and before you know it, the thing that once terrified you now feels like second nature. Think about a time when you were scared to do something new. Maybe it was speaking in front of an audience, starting a new business, or going after a dream that felt impossible. At first, fear was loud. It told you all the reasons why you'd fail. But when you finally took that first step, what happened? You realized it wasn't as bad as you thought. You realized you were stronger than your fear. Now imagine where you'd be if you let fear win. Imagine how many opportunities you would have missed if you listened to that voice telling you to back down. That's exactly what fear wants. It wants to steal your potential. It wants to rob you of your future. But you can't let it. You have too much greatness inside of you to let fear stop you. And don't misunderstand me. Fear will always be there. It doesn't disappear. It will show up every time you go after something big. But the difference between those who succeed and those who don't is simple. Successful people refuse to let fear be in control. They acknowledge it, but they don't bow to it. They keep moving even when their hands shake, even when their voice trembles, even when doubt creeps in. The key is learning how to act in spite of fear, how to push through when your mind is telling you to quit, how to remind yourself that fear is just an illusion. The danger isn't real. What's real is the regret of never trying. And let's be real. Fear is not the problem. It's how you respond to it. Some people let fear break them while others use it as fuel. Some let it convince them to quit while others let it push them harder. You have a choice. You can let fear control you or you can take control. So the question is, what are you going to do? Are you going to let fear keep you stuck? Are you going to keep waiting for the perfect moment? Or are you going to take a step forward right now despite the fear? Because the truth is, there is no perfect moment. There will never be a time when fear is completely gone. If you wait for that, you'll be waiting forever. The only way to overcome fear is to face it, to move forward, to take action, to prove to yourself that you are stronger than the doubts, the insecurities, the fears holding you back. So make the choice today. Fear is natural, but it is not a roadblock. It's a challenge, one that you were built to overcome. Fear is natural, but it was never meant to dictate the direction of your life. It was never meant to hold you back from your destiny. The people who achieve greatness, the people who change the world, they feel fear just like you do. But they refuse to bow to it. They refuse to let it be the thing that stops them from moving forward. You see, fear thrives in hesitation. It grows stronger when you pause, when you overthink, when you second guess yourself. Every time you stop to question whether you're ready, whether you're good enough, whether you might fail, fear gains more power. But the moment you take action, boom, you take that power back. I need you to understand something. Fear does not mean stop. Fear means go. Fear means you are standing at the edge of growth. Fear means that what's on the other side of that moment is worth fighting for. Because if it wasn't, you wouldn't be afraid. Think about it. Have you ever been scared of doing something meaningless? Have you ever felt fear about something that wouldn't change your life? No, fear only shows up when something truly matters, when the stakes are high, when the reward is great. That's why you have to push through it. That's why you can't afford to let it stop you. Fear is a test. It's life asking you how bad you really want it. And the ones who succeed, they're the ones who say, I feel the fear, but I'm doing it anyway. They don't let fear be an excuse. They don't let it be a limitation. They use it as fuel. And here's the thing. Fear isn't even real. It's the story your mind is telling you. It's a projection of what might go wrong, but that doesn't mean it will happen. Most of the things you fear will never even come to pass. But because you believe the fear, because you let it get into your head, it keeps you from taking action. It keeps you from trying. And that is the real tragedy. Because the only true failure is never trying at all. Look at any successful person you admire. I promise you, they have all faced fear. They have all had moments of doubt, of uncertainty, of insecurity. The difference is they didn't let those feelings stop them. They didn't wait until they felt ready, because guess what? Nobody ever truly feels ready. Readiness is a lie. If you're waiting for the moment when fear disappears, you're going to be waiting forever. The only way to get past fear is to act in spite of it. You have to rewire your mindset, stop seeing fear as an enemy and start seeing it as a guide. If you're scared to do something, that's usually a sign that you need to do it. That's a sign that it's the thing that will push you to the next level, the thing that will change you, strengthen you, make you better. So instead of running from fear, run toward it. I know it's not easy. I know that fear feels real in the moment. Your heart races. Your hands sweat, your mind starts spinning, coming up with all the reasons why you should back down. But let me ask you this, what's the worst that can happen? You fail? So what? Failure is not final. Failure is part of success. Every person who has ever accomplished something great has failed along the way. The only difference is they didn't let failure define them. They let it make them quit, and let's flip it. What's the best that can happen? What if you succeed? What if you push through the fear, take the risk, and it changes your life? You will never know unless you try. You will never know unless you take that first step. Fear is temporary, but regret is forever. You do not want to wake up years from now wondering what could have been if you had just been brave enough to try. You do not want to look back on your life knowing you let fear steal your dreams. So make the decision today. Step up, take action, look fear in the face, and say, you will not control me. Because the life you want, the success you dream of, the goals you are chasing, they are all waiting on the other side of fear. Fear will do everything in its power to stop you from reaching your potential. It will whisper in your ear telling you that you're not ready, that you're not good enough, that the risks are too high. It will make you believe that stepping forward is dangerous, that staying where you are is the safest option. But let me tell you something. Staying where you are is the most dangerous decision you can make, because comfort is a trap. It feels good in the moment, but it steals your future. It keeps you small. It keeps you stuck. Every time you let fear win, you're reinforcing a habit of hesitation, a habit of backing down. And the more you do that, the harder it gets to break free. You start to believe that fear is bigger than you, that it has control over you, but it doesn't. Fear only has the power that you give it. Think about a time when you were scared to do something, but you did it anyway. Maybe it was speaking in front of a crowd. Maybe it was making a big decision. Maybe it was taking a leap of faith into something new. You felt the fear, but you moved forward anyway. And what happened? You survived. The world didn't end. The fear eventually faded. And on the other side of that moment, you grew. You became stronger, more confident, more capable. That's the secret. Action kills fear. Fear only thrives in inaction. The longer you sit still, the louder fear becomes. But the moment you move, the moment you take that first step, fear starts to shrink. It loses its grip on you. That's why you can't wait until you feel ready. You have to move before you feel ready. You have to take the leap while the fear is still there. Look at the people who inspire you, the people who have achieved great things. Do you think they were fearless? No, they were just like you. They had doubts. They had moments where fear crept in, but they didn't let that fear paralyze them. They kept moving forward one step at a time. They learned to live with fear, to push through it, to rise above it. Fear is a natural part of the process. If you feel fear, that means you're on the right path. It means you're stretching yourself. It means you're growing. The only people who don't feel fear are the ones who aren't doing anything. The ones who have settled, the ones who have stopped pushing themselves. That's not who you are. You were made for more. You have dreams for a reason. You have goals for a reason. And fear is the test that separates the ones who make it from the ones who don't. You have two choices. You can let fear dictate your actions, or you can dictate your actions despite the fear. One choice leads to regret. The other choice leads to growth, success, and transformation. And let me tell you, the people who win in life, the people who rise to the top, they are the ones who have mastered their fear. Not by getting rid of it, but by learning how to move forward with it. They feel the fear and act anyway. They don't let fear be the thing that stops them. So let me ask you, what is fear holding you back from right now? What decision have you been avoiding? What action have you been hesitating to take? What dream have you been putting on hold because you're scared of failure, scared of rejection, scared of stepping outside of what's familiar? You owe it to yourself to move, to take action, to refuse to let fear win. Because at the end of the day, fear is an illusion. It's just a story. And you have the power to rewrite it. You have the power to create a new narrative, one where fear doesn't stop you, but fuels you. One where you rise above every doubt, every insecurity, every excuse. Fear is natural, but it's not a roadblock. It's a signal, a sign that you're heading in the right direction, a sign that what's on the other side is worth fighting for. So stop waiting, stop hesitating, take control, take action, and watch fear disappear in your rearview mirror.